Moises, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us and talk a little bit about being an anesthesia technician. And what I'm going to do is just run through some of the questions I have. If you could just like introduce yourself and tell us where you work and what your position is.
All right. Well, my name is Moises Flores. I work at UCI Medical Center. I've been working here for the past 5 years.
And how many years have you been an anesthesia technician?
I've been an anesthesia technician for almost 17 years.
Okay, and so
working on 4 different hospitals.
And then, so how did you get involved in this? I mean, most people don't even know that anesthesia technician exists. So how did this come about?
It was, I always call it, it was my wife's fault. She applied for me at the hospital, but I started working in the ED and the emergency department. And since day one, I fall in love with the medical field. So I went back to school and I became a paramedic. Then I find out about the anesthesia program. So back on my days, it was just a hands-in, training on the spot. Yeah.
And so going back, now you said you're from Mexico City originally?
I born here, but
okay.
grew up in Mexico.
And then, so did you start your healthcare career in Mexico or in the United States?
When I was in Mexico, I was going for medical school, but due to the circumstances, I have to leave the school, and I was helping a cousin do autopsies over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then from there, did you come to the U.S. and then start working, or I'd like to hear a little bit more about
yes, but
your
because
background.
of the language barrier, I started working in construction. So I did construction for almost 20 years till I find my path, which is anesthesia tech. Yes.
And then, so your first job, you said you were in medicine, was in the emergency department in the U.S.
In the U.S., I did construction for 20 years. But I went in the emergency department as taking care of the floors, just scrubbing the floors and yes.
And then, so that was your first exposure?
Yes.
And tell me what happened next. Like, how did you go from doing the floors to like working more in the emergency department?
I knew I want to be more involved on taking care of patients instead of the building. So that's why I went to a school and became a paramedic to become an emergency department tech. But one of my friends from the OR asked me if I want to become a hospital aide in the OR. Once I became hospital aide, I was helping a lot of anesthesia department, and that's how I start. They start training me on the spot, and I think they saw something on me, some interest, because I always were asking questions.
Yeah,
and that's how I got the opportunity to become anesthesia tech.
And okay, so you think that like just asking questions and being interested was helpful in getting the job as anesthesia tech?
Yes, because to me was being in the OR, in the operating room, to me was kind of like amazing to see the anesthesiologist, how much responsibility it will be to put the patient's life in you guys' hand, and you guys pretty much making sure that that patient was breathing, sleep, painless while they were having surgery. To me was so amazing to do that kind of like job. But at the same thing, it's the anesthesia tech play a big role and being on the backstage to make sure that all the equipment that you guys, the anesthesiologists use, it's on proper and working conditions.
So getting to anesthesia tech, and I think you're starting to explain what exactly an anesthesia tech does. If I were to say, what does an anesthesia tech do? How would you kind of summarize the role?
It's we do a lot, but our responsibility is to maintain all the anesthesia equipment, get familiar with it, know how to troubleshoot in case that we have problems, uh, get all the equipment, supplies ready for you guys too, and at the same time assist with difficult airways, which it can be awake or sleep intubations. Get all the equipment that requires to have those difficult airways. Be there for invasive lines placements. And for example, here at UCI is just to help with traumas also, especially when we have red lines. So help with that one to set up all the invasive lines, hot lines, rapid infusers for blood transfusion. So it's great on a lot of things that we can help you guys.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are invaluable. I mean, like we could not do our job without you. There's no doubt you know so much more about the equipment and than we do. So whenever we have trouble, you know, you guys come and save us. So I think it's amazing what you do, and we're so appreciative. I think, you know, and as you're saying, like, you know, if there's any question for the students out there, a red line is like when a patient comes emergently directly up from the emergency room into the operating room, and we don't have time to set up, they immediately come in the operating room. And so in terms of procedures you guys help with, we talked about intubation, invasive lines, like what invasive lines do you guys assist with?
We help with the setup of arterial line, the radius arterial line, or it can be the IJ or subclavian lines. Those are more for blood transfusions, monitoring as well.
So like, what monitoring do you help with? I know you got like just vital signs.
So for invasive lines, it can be more for cardiac output, also like for hearts, and for this thing that we call cordis, also on swan, just to go to the pulmonary artery. So it's just a lot of stuff a lot of things that we can do as a tech.
Cool. I think that like anyone who watches this is going to say, because I think there's going to be a lot of students out there who are going to be in a similar situation where they're interested in healthcare, but they don't really know how to get in that entry point. And so how did, like you said you like went to paramedic school, or was it EMT school, or what like how did you like, what school did you go to initially to kind of get in?
I went to Santa Ana College, has a program for EMTs. That's the one that I took about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And that helped me either to find the right work, which I did at Anesthesia Tech, but also I work with a lot of students where they approach me and ask me what will be best for them. And one of the things that I told them, it's for us as anesthesia techs, it's a step for a lot of ways they can go, either nursing, which I have co-workers that are on the nursing program right now, and I have 2 people that are trying to go to medical school, but all the training that they're getting right now and the knowledge is going to help them tremendously in the future. And 2, it's to just get more confidence on them to do the job done.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. It's a great stepping stone into additional careers, but I also think it's a great career. I think that if a student says, I want to be an anesthesia tech, what school do they go to, or what do they do?
Can you please repeat that question for me?
Oh, sure. If a student wanted to be an anesthesia tech, where do they go, and what do they do? Like, what schools are there?
Right now, we only have one school in California. That program goes to Pasadena City College. It's combined with Kaiser Permanente anesthesia and CRNA program.
Okay.
So unfortunately, right now it's only one school in California, 5 schools nationwide.
5 station schools nationwide. Got it. Okay. And then moving on, like, what would you say, like a day in the life of an anesthesia tech? What just very briefly, kind of what does that look like? What type of stuff do you do on a day-to-day basis?
A day in anesthesia, it's we start calibrating the anesthesia machines, the machines that we use to put the patient to sleep. We just make sure that it's being done, has all the supplies available on stock, and then work with our providers. Communication is a key for us. We have to communicate with the anesthesia providers and see what is going to be the plan for their patient care. So once we know, then we're gonna go ahead and set up all the equipment that is gonna be needing for that particular case. But for us, we usually take care of 5 rooms. So we have to work with 5 different providers, and then sometimes more, because sometimes I can have one of my colleagues being busy for a heart case, for example. Then the other people can, the other techs can take care of the other rooms. So a whole day, it can be different, but really, it's a lot of satisfaction on a daily basis. You don't run into a routine. Every day as an anesthesia tech it's a challenge, in a good way. You put your skills to work every single day, 8 hours if it's your shift. It's always you're gonna be troubleshooting and thinking about what's your next case. It's just really a lot of satisfaction being as an anesthesia tech.
What would you say would be like the most difficult or challenging part of your job, or maybe something you're just like, this is not my favorite part?
This is the best part. There is not a single thing that I don't like about my job. I love my job. Yes.
That's great. That's really fantastic. What advice would you give to someone who's interested in going into healthcare or becoming a anesthesia tech? Do you have any specific advice for them?
Just be passionate about patient care, and have a good attitude. I think that's the only 2 things that I always told students, that you have to have the passion to do this job, because that's a lot of responsibility that we have on our backs.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Moises, thank you so much for your time. I know a lot of students
Thank
out
you.
there are really going to enjoy seeing this and learning about being an anesthesia tech. And you know, a couple final questions. One is, how many years is anesthesia tech school?
It's only, well, we have to have our AA degree these days. So once you have your AA, your general aid, then we have to have our science classes, which is physiology, anatomy, and microbiology, I'm sorry. Once we have those classes done, then we can join the program, and it's 1-year program.
Okay, gotcha. And then, well, it's gonna be my final question here was, if people want to get more information about being an anesthesia technician, is there any like website you would refer them to? Is there an organization is there an anesthesia, like a tech association?
Yes, and it's the anesthesia technology program through Pasadena City College.
Okay. And so you send them there. I mean, this will be seen by people across the country. So that might be good for some of them. Is there an association of anesthesia techs?
Yes, there's the association is ASATT,
Okay.
and it's a nationwide association that we all get certified through that program, and we have to keep our certification on for every 2 years.